Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to talk about the 3 best exercises for people who are overweight. I received an email from a gentleman who is trying to get in better shape. He was around 400 pounds at the beginning of COVID, and he started watching videos, and he's now gotten himself down to 380 pounds just by doing food. He wants to know what exercises he can do in order to get the most out of it and get closer to being his ideal weight. So this is a great question because there's a lot of design considerations to think about. If you are a 400-pound individual, let's assume that we want to get to our target weight, let's say 200 pounds. That means that this person is walking around with a 200-pound sandbag on their shoulders all the time. Most people who are of this size have very specific limitations. They are not able to get full range of motion in anything, and if we ask them to get full range of motion in the beginning, it's only going to make their life terrible, it's going to hurt them, and they're not going to do very well with training. So what we want to do is come up with training exercises that get us strong in the correct ways. What we want to focus on is standing all the way up and having our core fire standing up. That's the most important point. The way that we're going to accomplish that is cross-body stabilization, and we're going to use multiple heights of a box in order to increase range of motion slowly over time. The 3 exercises are going to be elevated suitcase deadlift, a box squat, and either a standing or a seated single arm press. What we are using here is folded up mats. If you do not have folded up mats, because most people don't have folded up mats, because most people don't live in a gym, then you're going to have to find something to stack up. Another thing that you can use are yoga blocks. These are my favorite yoga blocks, and these come in, I believe this is 1.5 inch, I think that's 2 inches thick. These are off-size yoga blocks, but these work really well. They're super light, they're inexpensive, they're on Amazon, and you can stack them up in order to put things on, and then over time, change the height of the box so that you're going further and further. Exercise number 1 for this is going to be a suitcase deadlift. Suitcase deadlift is a deadlift from a suitcase position, as if you're picking up a suitcase and carrying it. We're going to chop our hips back, get down to the height of the kettlebell, and work on our hip extension, standing all the way up. The goal is to squeeze the glutes at the top. We are also trying to point our feet straight ahead. Oftentimes people will have an adaptation of turnout, knee collapse in. We want to avoid that. Point your feet straight ahead or turn them 5 degrees in. Drive the knees out at the bottom of the activity, get down to the weight, stand up. Touch it down, stand up. Our goal with this exercise is to cause the muscles on the opposite side of our body to fire. We want better core function. Better core function means we'll be strong enough to do more intense activities later. Over the course of weeks, then you would lower the height of your box as you gain an ability to get a little bit lower each time. As the weight gets lower and lower and lower, this cross-body stabilization is going to make our core fire better. We're always getting these muscles on the opposite side of our body to fire. Think of this as a plank. The difference is we don't have to get up and down off the ground. The weight is causing these muscles to fire no matter what. Our second exercise is going to be a multi-height box squat. So we're going to start with this high. You could make this as high as it needs to be. All we have to do is get down and stand all the way back up. We are going to be using a lighter weight for this because if you are overweight, you're already walking around with a giant sandbag on your shoulders. All we want to do is front load this with an amount of weight to force the core to fire. And we're going to try and build range of motion one step at a time by removing height from the block in whatever way you can. What we want to work on is standing up and getting down. If we are overweight, doing just squats is not going to work out super well because you're going to have limited range of motion and increased size is going to limit what you can do. What we want to do is get down, pick our feet up for 1 or 2 seconds and put them down and stand up. If you can just get down and stand up, that's good enough. We can add the foot lifting part later. We are going to pick up a weight. We are going to hold it in front of our body. I'm going to have us hold bottom up, arms close to our sides. The goal is to sit down, eventually lift the feet up to cause the core to fire, stand all the way up and straighten your feet all the way out. Get down and stand up. Over time, we're going to lower the height of the box in whatever increment you have. The smaller the increment, the better it will go. Get down, lean back, rock forward, engage the abs, stand all the way up, try to straighten your legs all the way out. Get down, lean back, stand all the way up. Every time the box gets lower, you're going to try to get your core to fire more and more. It will happen automatically if you do this. One height, 1 week, go down. The smallest amount you can go down, 1 inch, 2 inches, to work the program again, your core will have to fire. The lower you get and it's front loaded, it will definitely make your core fire no matter what over time. The last exercise we're going to do is going to be a standing press. The point of the standing press is that it's going to try and get us to stand all the way up, push our hips forward, and get our arm overhead. We're always trying to get better at the most important things that humans do, which is stand up and be strong in the standing position. We're going to start from our rack position. We're going to get it here any way we can. We're going to have our contact 45 degrees across the handle. This should not be most likely comfortable in the beginning. We want to get to this position and single arm press up. Just like our other exercise, our suitcase deadlift, the muscles in the opposite side of our body will have to fire as we do these presses. The more of these presses we do, the better our core firing will get, stabilizing our spine to help us stand up more effectively. Alternatively, we can do a seated version of this press, but same thing, we're sticking with a single-sided press to force that core engagement. We would like to do it with a kettlebell and not a dumbbell because we're going to get better overall movement and core firing with a kettlebell than we do with a dumbbell. You can do all of these exercises with a dumbbell. The biggest problem that we tend to have when you're training people who are of excessive size is that they don't have great core firing and their body doesn't allow them to get into a lot of other positions. Push-ups, if you're overweight, are not an option because you're trying to do a push-up with a 200-pound sandbag on your shoulders. We shouldn't ask you to do that because we can't control the load. We would like to control the load for these activities by using a light weight, because you already have a sandbag on your shoulders, and we want to do what's called volume cycles. We want to do a small number, sets of 3 to 5, and we want to add sets. So let's say we started with 5 sets of 3 for all these exercises, but the deadlift would have 5 sets of 3 on the left and on the right. The press would have 5 sets of 3 on the left and the right. The squat would just have 5 sets of 3. The next time we would want to do 6 sets of everything, and then 7 sets of everything, and then 8 sets of everything, and build up to get more volume of total exercises in general. The weight doesn't change. We want to get good at these specific activities and add volume because every rep yields more core strength. More core strength yields a better ability to deal with training later. The most important position that we can work on is the standing position. So you'll notice all of these exercises have some type of standing in them. Getting up and down, the most important thing you can do. Picking up objects off the ground, most important thing you can do. And the overhead press because it forces you to stand all the way up at the top. So remember, volume cycles, low weight. Build yourself up to a target series of reps. 20 sets of 5 would be 100 reps for everything. And then go the smallest unit you can of weight up a weight. So for kettlebells, the smallest unit you could probably get your hands on is either 2 to 4K. 2K is great, that's 4.4 pound jump, and then you would repeat the whole process again, and then do another 2K jump and repeat the process again. You're building up your fundamentals, deadlift, squat, and press in controlled ranges so that you can get strong enough in order to move on to more advanced connected exercises.